Hello, my name is Alyssa Darden. I'm the director of our Learning Commons at Franklin, and Elena Smith is unfortunately out sick this week. She's our special collections and research librarian, and she's worked really hard on also putting together this poster on the significance of government documents in research. So government documents are extremely valuable for research. They provide a lot of data sets that you can use. There's a lot of statistical reports, census data, labor market analysis, public health records. It just runs the gamut, and it might be the missing ingredient in your research, especially for our doctoral students who are often looking at a particular geographic area that they're wanting to research. So the con is that they don't actually feed into the library website. So as you're searching the library website and then you're reaching out to the librarians for help, we're helping you navigate a lot of scholarly articles, a lot of our databases that we have access to. But the government data is actually open government data. It is out there, but it's not discoverable through our main routes. So you might find if you book a research coaching appointment, the librarians often suggest that you check out usa.gov to see if we can flesh out any gaps in your research. But just so that you're aware of the possibilities, we'll run through some options today with you. And then you can always book a research coaching appointment if you would want to explore more in the future. So why is this government data and these government documents, why are they open? There are a few laws that govern this. So one is the Freedom of Information Act that came out in 1967, and that gives the public the right to request information from any federal agency. Federal agencies do have to respond to those requests unless it falls under 9 exemptions, which protect personal privacy, national security interests, and law enforcement. In 2008, then, Obama wrote a memo wanting to create more open government data and just to create more transparency in the government. A few years later, the Open Government Data Act made data.gov a requirement, and it did what librarians love, which is to put metadata to a lot of those reports and information and data so they're easily discoverable. So that's really increased the amount of government documents that have been available just to the general public without really having to go through libraries or find those things in print. So they're very openly available for the most part. Now, data.gov, we talked about being created as part of the Open Government Data Act. So that's a good place to start. One of my favorite places to start is also usa.gov. So usa.gov searches a lot of the data from the federal agencies, but also seems to have a lot of information from states as well. So that is a really good place. We also have a research guide, guides.franklin.edu/statusa. And that one can just walk you through the different things that are available. Census.gov is extremely robust and offers a lot of data slicers and dicers so that you can really dig down and ask a lot of questions of the data that you're pulling. usaspending.gov does a lot around economics, and then Bureau of Labor Statistics, so BLS.gov, is great for anything employment related. So we have a couple of options here in the middle for you that we can dive into a little bit more, and I'll tell you a bit about how we've helped students over the years with them too. So the types of government data, census data, a lot about population, demographics, housing, income, poverty, education, and down to a very local granular level. So we had a student a few years ago who was looking at gun violence in a particular area of Chicago, a particular neighborhood of Chicago, and she wanted to know if income and poverty had any impact on gun violence. So we were able to drill down very narrowly to that area of Chicago she was looking at, and also pull some data from the CDC on firearm mortality rates. So she had the 2 pieces of information she needed, very exact data to look at the problem that she was researching. Employment statistics, you find a lot of this on Bureau of Labor Statistics. There's some things for price and productivity also on the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov site. One of my favorites is the American Time Use Survey. So this is great for a lot of our marketing students, a lot of business students. If you're wanting to know how much time Americans spend doing different things. So how much time do Americans spend working? How much time do they spend working from home? How much time do they spend on childcare? What are some of the ways that you can find some opportunities there? There's also consumer price index, producer price index, and unit labor costs. Housing and construction, so looking sometimes at rental vacancy rates, housing starts. Health is another area that's really helpful for our nursing students and any of our healthcare administration programs. Looking at demographics, morbidity and mortality rates, healthcare utilization, clinical trials, environmental exposures. One example of how we've helped a student with this is that she was looking at addiction factors. So, kind of pre-addiction factors that could be looked at. And we were able to, again, use some of the mortality data related to addiction to inform some of her research. So economic indicators, a lot of this is on that usaspending.gov, as well as national income and product accounts, foreign trade, industry statistics, and then energy data can be found there as well. So all really helpful, and sometimes you just don't even know what's available until you have a bit of a search in usa.gov and see not only the data is often there, but there's also a lot of reports around the data, analyzing the data, sometimes analyzing the data year over year, so that you have a really good and thorough look at your topic. But how do researchers feel about government data, about open government data? Is there a lot of trust there? Is there a lot of transparency there? Is there a lot of accuracy there? And so one article that really examines this by Mathias and Jansen, they did a literature review about 76 different studies to look at researcher perceptions of open government data. And they defined some factors that positively influence transparency and trust with open government data. So the things that make for high transparency and trust is, in a couple of different determinants. One is data. Do you have access to the data? Is it there in a timely manner? Is it the primary data? The second is system. Is it easily searchable? Is it easily usable? The third kind of hinges upon the user. Is the user data literate enough to find what they're looking for? Are they motivated enough to find what they're looking for? The fourth is organizational. So is there leadership support for creating this open data? Is there good data governance structure in place? Is there any internal resistance? So one of the only negative areas that had any negative studies associated with it was privacy, but all other areas really showed that open government data not only has high trust and credibility, but also allows for accountability, civic engagement, anti-corruption, and then just kind of gives you a way to overcome asymmetry of information. So that was interesting to go through and read that. And even more interesting is that in the last couple of weeks, there have been recent executive orders and memorandum that have impacted the availability of government data. So we've seen some data come down from the CDC websites, a lot around climate data and some health data as well have been taken down through memos and recent executive orders. So, will this impact transparency and trust of open government data in the future? Is this something that with the two areas of data, so that access to the information, that primary data being there, and the timeliness of the information being there, as well as the leadership support, so that organizational factor, will that impact the transparency and trust of the data in the future? That'll be interesting to see in the next couple of months. So if you're interested in exploring any of this data and need help getting started, librarians can help you with this in research coaching appointments, or you can use the chat on our website, or you can reach out to myself or Elena, and we will be happy to help you learn a little bit more about government data and see if it can fill any gaps in your research. Thank you.